Good night to everyone. This is the Collister Fahie show, and today is March 4th, 2025. This is episode number 46. And on the hot seat tonight, the topic is politics, lies, money grabs, and legal injustice. My listeners and viewers, thank you for listening as usual as we touch the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Caribbean, North America, Central America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and the world. First, this is the question that seems to be the one that has the world talking right now. Of course, tonight, you know that President Trump will be speaking to the Congress, Americans, U.S. Virgin Islanders, and the world. But before we get to that, I am here, and on the hot seat, we're going to discuss a lot of what he may be talking about. Like he says, tonight he's going to tell it like it is. So once you come off of this live, I would suggest you go and listen to the President of the United States. The question is, how many politicians in the USA and USVI and the world who are on boards or have family and friends on boards of defense contractors, NGOs, pharmaceutical companies, and on that are taking and taking and taking from the United States taxpayers. Let's do a quick rundown of some of the important stories that are around the world right now. It seems in the Serbian parliament today, tear gas and smoke grenades were thrown by political officials of the opposition party. That is what it is coming to. Now we hear that some European countries are backing Zelensky and promising millions of dollars in aid to continue a war against Russia, while some are aligning with the Trump vision of peace between Russia and Ukraine. Canada is threatening tariffs on American product, while Canada already has massive tariffs on American products. So here is the President of the United States saying that all Canada has to do is to remove all the tariffs on the United States, and the Trump administration will remove all the tariffs on Canada. Simple, right? We continue. All Democrats in the Senate, the U.S. Senate, voted against keeping men out of women's sports. Every single Democrat. When it comes to what we call propaganda news, we found out that USAID was funding almost every news agency across the globe to then turn around and brainwash and gaslight the people of the world. Well, 22 Democrats today made videos saying the exact same thing about the upcoming Trump address. Now, that is laughable, but it proves the point that the media is now, in my view, basically propaganda outlets. So now let's get to it. Episode 46, Politics, Lies, Money Grabs, and Legal Injustice. In the news today, again, sent to me from the Virgin Islands Consortium by a friend of mine, it seems that Brian now has aligned with Trump on immigration, deregulation, education, and transgender sports policies. My question is this: if the governor of the Virgin Islands is now aligned with Trump, then he must be anti-democrat, because he certainly has shown a propensity now to sound and act like, at least when it comes to policies, like Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States. So, where are the Democrats to be up in arms against Governor Bryan? Because they seem to be up in arms against everything Trump. But now Governor Bryan seems to be a mini Trump. But in my view, that may not be such a bad thing. But based on what we see in the community and what we hear, the kind of negative comments on social media, the demeaning LOL and outright disavowing of anything Trump seems to have flipped on its head when it comes to the Brian Roach administration. But let me ask a question. Then why, or what about the Epstein files declassification? Is he on board with Trump with that? Does the governor of the Virgin Islands want the Trump administration to declassify all the Epstein evidence, all the Epstein files? Let's see what happens. Again, another article. I'm in the Virgin Islands now. WAPA is not run professionally. This is what someone who is looking at the privatization of WAPA has to say. Well, in 2025, if that is the headline, then we are in big trouble. WAPA is not run professionally. Suddenly, the privatization of WAPA is all over the propaganda local media. Now, this is just 1 year after the Brian Roach administration has pumped millions into WAPA. They say to try and save the entity. This is after decades of pumping hundreds of millions into WAPA under many governors. They said to try and save WAPA. After many of our political class has made millions out of WAPA, here comes someone giving them advice that WAPA is not run professionally after they have enriched themselves to the maximum. I say, it's politics, lies, money grabs, and legal injustice. We will start. Governor Albert Bryan and Southland Gaming LLC has somehow regained control of the Doc James racetrack, paving the way for more money grabs. Is that a true statement? Well, let me repeat it and I'll ask it as a question. Has Albert Bryan, the governor, and Southland Gaming LLC regain control of the Doc James racetrack, paving the way for more money grabs? That is what the headline should read in the VI consortium. But like I say, the VI consortium, the Daily News, and some of these local media outlets, in my view, put headlines and tell you some of the information while intentionally omitting some of the information. Mission information, in my view, is lying to the people. So that is why I say politics, lies, money grabs, and legal injustice. Okay, so I'm going to remind you of a little history because this will clear up a lot of the information that is put in the media, gaslight the community, hoping that the community will not put 1 and 1 together, 2 plus 1 together, and maybe 3 or 4 decades together to see why all of a sudden the government of the Virgin Islands is announcing that they have regained control of the Doc James racetrack, but did not put that it all encompasses Southern Gameland LLC. Question: was the Virgin Islands Code amended in 2022 and the Southland Gaming Agreements approved and ratified? That's one. Was the VIGL franchise agreement finalized? Did it separate obligations related to the Clinton E. Phipps racetrack and St. Thomas and the Doc James racetrack and St. Croix? Did they do that so they could begin renovations on the St. Croix track? Did the legislature not approve the Southern Gameland agreements? They did. Did VIGL remove the development of the St. Thomas track to benefit Southland Gaming? So we got history. Governor Albert Bryan, Jason Charles, Southern Gameland LLC, Arturo Watlington, Governor Turnbull, Governor DeYoung, Governor Mapp, and Governor Bryan. What are the connecting factors to all of these people? Well, Albert Bryan and Jason Charles used to work at the EDA. Jason Charles and Albert Bryan have not-for-profits in common prior to the governor becoming governor and Mr. Jason Charles being on boards after boards after boards. Arturo Watlington, former member of the Board of Elections, is also a former attorney for Southland Gaming LLC. This is from since 2003. In 2003, Southland Gaming was given exclusivity contract to run gaming in St. Thomas by Governor Charles Turnbull. This is 2003 now. Governor John DeYoung in 2013. Good night, Utiba. Good night, Cheryl. And good night to all who are listening. I continue. Governor DeYoung in 2013 redid the exclusivity contract for Southland Gaming and extended it to 2028. Governor Mapp in 2016 worked with VIGL to split exclusivity with Southland Gaming, and so VIGL was supposed to develop the Randall Doc James racetrack in St. Croix. And then now, in 2022, Governor Bryan redid the exclusivity contract with Southland Gaming and the legislature in tow, with Senator Jevan James being the only senator from St. Croix who voted in the affirmative, which essentially gave Southland Gaming an exclusivity contract all the way to 2041. My people of the Virgin Islands and the world, you see how the thing set? Decades and decades of exclusivity contracts for Southland Gaming. Now we hear that the governor has regained control of the Randall Doc James racetrack from VIGL, and so it bodes well for the future, the newspaper is telling us. For upgrades and development. People, don't we remember that the Randall Doc James racetrack ain't had a race in many a year? And it's still sitting there. St. Croix ain't had horse racing in forever. So is this politics, lies, and another money grab due to legal injustice? We're going to continue. And I want you to listen very carefully, because this is serious. It is spiderweb networked, and it is much like what you see exposed by the Trump administration when it comes to USAID. We have a mini AID, a USAID here in the Virgin Islands. So everything seems surrounding these exclusivity contracts. Southland Gaming, VIGL, slot machines, VLTs, and who controls what in the Virgin Islands as it pertains to that money tree. That is the next whopper, in my view. So the government takes back Randolph Doc James racetrack from VIGL. Okay. The VA government, Southern Gameland, and the VIGL settled a lawsuit to unblock the redevelopment of Clinton E. Phipps racetrack and St. Thomas. Remember the headline? They work together to quote unquote unblock the redevelopment of Clinton E. Phipps racetrack and St. Thomas. But why? Was it politics to simply get horse racing going forward so they could use that for campaigning? Obviously, that is what happened. Obviously, that is what happened. Now, Judge Curtis Gomez intervened in the lawsuit that Southland Gaming brought against the government at the Virgin Islands after Mapp decided that he was going to split it so that VIGL could move and fix Randall Doc James racetrack, as well as have access to VLTs because that was their agreement. Their exclusivity agreement was that. So Southland Gaming sued the government, saying that slot machines and VLTs are one and the same. MAP disagreed, VIGL disagreed, and so they went to court. Now, just before that case was supposed to go to trial, our most esteemed Judge Curtis Gomez intervened, and he said there is no difference between electronic slot machines and video lottery terminals, the VLTs. This case was in the district court. Now, once he made that finding, it changed the course of the civil case. It changed the course of the civil case. And as a result of that declaration by Judge Curtis Gomez, in April of 2020, first trial date was cancelled. So the judge found that the slot machines and the VLTs were one and the same, basically giving Southland Gaming a victory in their lawsuit. And so the trial was cancelled. Now Arturo Watlington Jr., who represented Southland Gaming LLC, spoke up and said the judge was on point, I guess, because when the issue first appeared, Southland Gaming signed a 2003 agreement deal with Governor Charles Turnbull. It received exclusive franchise to install and operate video lottery terminals, VLTs, in St. Thomas and St. John district. Now, Southland Gaming sued in 2018. They sued the VA government for breach of contract and violation of gaming rights under the Constitution. So basically, they sued because it was a breach of the exclusivity clause in their deal with Governor Turnbull. All of this now is about gaming, slot machines, and VLTs in St. Thomas, St. John. Southland Gaming is a monster. Now, in 2018, Governor Mapp had amended the deal with VIGL Operators LLC under a so-called sports tourism initiative. Every election, you hear the sports tourism coming up. When I know that sports tourism should be there, regardless of elections, it should be something that you push year on. But many here make it an election ploy. Under that sports tourism initiative, Governor Mapp wanted to upgrade the Randall Jack James Racetrack and St. Croix, as well as the Clinton E. Phipps Racetrack and St. Thomas. The deal was reached in 2016. Lawmakers, the senators, passed Act 7952. Write it down. Act 7952 and Act 7953, providing the legal definition of an electronic slot machine versus the VLTs. So basically, the slot machines and the VLTs were supposedly different, are the legal definitions that the Senate passed apparently made them different. But when Judge Gomez looked at the case, he said, the government of the Virgin Islands argument is wanting, as saying something is so doesn't necessarily make it so. I believe that the supervisor of the Board of Elections must be family to District Court Judge Curtis Gomez, because this is exactly what she is saying, just using other words, and I'll repeat it. Saying something is so does not necessarily make it so. But laws are in black and white until you have interpretations by judges, the people that are put in place to be fair and impartial and going by the law. So if the Senate, through these two acts, 7952 and 7953, clarify the definition of electronic slot machine, the decision by Judge Curtis Gomez gives me pause. But we continue. The media, I've said it over and over again, the media does not seem to be a friend of the public, and a lot of them are not news organizations. They are propaganda arms. Basically, the headline did not tell you that apparently now VIGL has lost almost everything to Southland Gaming LLC. Isn't that what is happening? So will Southland Gaming be given an exclusivity deal in the next few months over the entire Virgin Islands gaming? Will they now be moving to take over the upgrade and redevelopment of the Randall Dock James racetrack? I see the writing on the wall. Time will tell. But I see the pawns being moved in place in this long chess game from since 2003 that ended up with Southland Gaming getting exclusivity rights to 2041. This has been going on under governors from since Turnbull. Governor Turnbull, Governor DeYoung, Governor Mapp, and now Governor Bryan. Why is there so much push with gaming with such far-reaching years? 2041 is the end of the exclusivity contract. And if I know good attorneys inside that exclusivity contract that ends in 2041, must be some way to renegotiate that deal to extend it more. Any legal person worth the salt would put that in. It just makes sense financially, politically, because all these people are aligned. They are aligned. So we continue. Will Southland Gaming now partner with VIGL to redevelop the same Randall James racetrack that VIGL done fail at? Because this government likes to reward failure by giving more millions. It just happened with WAPA, with the metering contract. My people of the Virgin Islands and the world, the same thing is happening across the globe. But for us here in the Virgin Islands, it is stark because we are a little rock with about 89,000 people. with the amount of millions that are being finangled and moved around under the guise of legislations and political meanderings, I say to you, this must stop. And it only will stop when the people of the Virgin Islands are fully aware of what is going on right under their noses. Because the news is not going to tell you. They know that some of us, we ain't digging deep and down memory lane. And so some of us have to do it. And hopefully this will bring an awareness. I continue. So who's going to upgrade the Randall Jack James racetrack with another lucrative and gargantuan contract worth millions and millions of dollars? Who? Southland Gaming LLC with VIGL in a new agreement. Southland Gaming LLC with another company that comes in, because at the end of the day, Southland Gaming LLC is in the driver's position. They are connected to the people who are very close to the governor. In fact, all of them were one. I would like to see how much political contributions Southland Gaming have given to the Democratic senators. In fact, all senators. We ain't picking and choosing, none. What are the political contributions that Southland Gaming has given to the politicians in the Virgin Islands? What are the political contributions given over the years to Governor Turnbull, Governor DeYoung, Governor Mapp, and Governor Bryan? Both of them now, Southland Gaming and VIGL. Because I think therein lies a lot of what is going on now. So let's go down a little bit of history of this exclusivity contracts and clauses of Southland Gaming LLC and VIGL. Because while they've been battling in court and playing the high-low negotiations in the background, for years, St. Thomas had no racing, no horse racing. And for years still, St. Croix has had no horse racing. So the people had suffered. In 2003, Governor Turnbull did a deal with Southland Gaming. In 2013, Governor John DeYoung re-upped that deal and extended it to 2028 with Southland Gaming. In comes Mapp in 2016 and upturned the apple cart. In a way, working with VIGL to try to fix, build back, upgrade the Randall Jack James racetrack. Then comes 2022. Governor Bryan and the senators, with an in the dark of the night move by Senator Jevan James, was able to secure an exclusivity contract with Southland Gaming until 2041. I wonder if Jason Charles of Southland Gaming, he used to work there for years, I wonder if he was pleased. I wonder if it worked out good in his favor or Southland Gaming's favor. Yeah, we call him name because that's what the newspaper say and that's what they put on the social media of who they align with and who they're working with. Who spend the most money giving contributions to the not-for-profits? King of the Wing. And I could go on. So, all I can say is this here. The people of the Virgin Islands, keep your eyes and your ears peeled. A lot going on in the background that nobody talking about. Documents flying like crazy. That's all I can say. Now in 2025, Governor Bryan is now through their propaganda mouthpiece, indicating that they have clawed back the Randall Doc James racetrack from VIGL. Well, Map, everything that Governor Map did with VIGL, it gone to naught, in my opinion. It gone to naught. So now school children say that Map might come back, you know. I only tell you what the school children say. So maybe if Map win the election in 2026, VIGL might get a chance to come back. But I shouldn't laugh because it's a serious matter. But this is how the thing's set in the Virgin Islands. But we continue with the VIGL and the Southland Gaming kerfuffle. Because while Judge Curtis Gomez ruled in early April of 2020 that basically the government and the argument in court was found wanting because VLTs and slot machines were one of the same, the judge, Robert Malloy, who started working on the 27th of April 2020, took a look at the same case and maybe he see something and he was cocky eye. Maybe he was closing one eye. Maybe he was closing both eyes and just listening to what he was hearing or being told. I don't know. But Judge Robert Malloy looked at the ruling from Judge Curtis Gomez and reversed it. Basically, giving a massive victory. A massive victory. Southland Gaming. And I'll tell you why. He reversed the decision of Judge Gomez. Now, you would think that that would be a negative for Southland Gaming. You would think that Southland Gaming argued that the VLTs and the slot machines were the same, and so VIGL should not be allowed to abridge the exclusivity contract. So you will ask me, well, how could the judge reversing that benefit Southland Gaming, since it basically put some power back into VIGL? My people of the Virgin Islands, let me tell you something. Judge Gomez said, because something is so doesn't mean it's so it be. Because the ruling seemed that way doesn't mean it's so it be. Judge Robert Malloy's reversal stated that there was a difference between slot machines and VLTs, but he urged the parties to settle by September 2020. I know. Judge Curtis Gomez's term was up since 2015, you know. His 10-year term was up. He was just sitting there until a new district court judge was put into place. Well, lo and behold, the same month that he found that slot machines and VLTs were the same, just a few months later, after he was replaced in the same April, the new judge reversed his order. So he was in limbo since 2015, right? So you can't make up these things. I'm trying to go as slow as possible, but you cannot make up the trajectory, the history, the aligning, the dates of how these things fall into place. I want you to think about what I'm going to say now. Do some research on Judge Gomez. Do some research on his rulings and on the cases that he took on them. Remember, Judge Gomez was appointed by George Bush, you know. by George Bush. And I'm saying to you, do some research on his rulings as he affected election cases, consent decree cases, GRS payment cases. It was Judge Gomez who tell the government you got to pay GRS. If he didn't rule that, GRS would have never get no money from the government of the Virgin Islands. That was one of his. But most importantly, look at some of his rulings when it comes to land cases, property rights cases in the Virgin Islands. That is what I want you to do some research on. You're going to get an eye full and an ear full. He has now, this is Judge Gomez now, he has now achieved senior status. So along with the senior status, he get his perks and privileges. He still have an office as long as he do a certain percentage of cases. He have clerks, a full staff basically. You understand? As having senior status as a judge. So he is enjoying the perks of having had a tenure as a district court judge in the Virgin Islands. I say all that to say this. In the next few months, we're going to find out if I'm wrong or if I'm right. When you hear about the new contract to redevelop the Randall Dock James racetrack, I don't want to hear an excuse from nobody in the Virgin Islands. If the governor decides that since Southland Gaming is already here in the Virgin Islands, and has exclusivity for St. Thomas St. John District, it would be easier and more convenient to keep Southland Gaming and give them exclusivity till 2041 over the entire Virgin Islands. And so allow them, along with a so-called partner, to redevelop the Randall Dock James racetrack. And they're going to say that they're doing a good job at Clinton E. Phipps racetrack. And so it just makes sense. All I'm going to say to my listeners and my viewers, horse racing fall under the Department of Sports, Park and Recreation. And so Clinton E. Phipps racetrack and all that going on over there, linked to it. And we have an indictment of the former commissioner of Sports, Park and Recreations. And I'll leave it at that. We all have to do homework. We all have to dig deep. But just know this, that Southland Gaming is another one of the monsters that are pillaging the finances of the people of the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I don't care how much they could come out and try to refute it and say, oh, we're giving back to the community. We give back $200 million to the community. And we give monies to our schools. And we are supporting not-for-profits. I'll tell you this much. For every million that the so-called invest, they're taking hundreds of millions out of the Virgin Islands. If anybody wants to refute it, we could do discovery. And it will come to pass that I am absolutely right. They've been here since 2003. Clinton E. Phipps racetrack. Good night, everyone, and welcome in. I've seen you. Clinton E. Phipps racetrack just come on board because it was politics. You had to get horse racing back so you could get re-elected. Randall Dock James racetrack sits like a morgue. You understand? It's sitting over there like a cemetery, actually. Not a morgue, a cemetery. A forgotten cemetery. And now you're using it now because 2026 soon come. And you got to try to bolster somebody in the party. Because right now, Governor Bryan sounds like Trump. So I don't know how the party could say the anti-Trump when the government of the Virgin Islands, fully Democrat, is aligned with Trump to the hilt, to the hip now. So all you Democrats, that solid black majority that they've been crowing about for years, anti-Republican, anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, you are governor of the Virgin Islands, our governor of the Virgin Islands, sounding like me now. Pick out the policies of the man and forget the man. That is going to be his new argument going forward. But for over 6, 7, I've been catching it on social media and all over from people who align with Bryan and align with the Democrat Party in the Virgin Islands. So what you got to say now to your governor and the party that is now aligned with the very same Trump policies that I tell you are working and make sense. The hypocrisy cannot be undone. But politicians always find a way to sweet talk people after they have mama guide the people. So we have a small Trump in the Virgin Islands who is working very hard as if he don't want the Epstein evidence come out. Maybe he looking a little bit of help, like some of them get in 2012 when the run went to Barack Obama and Eric Holder. This is Trump. This is Pam Bondi. So we're going to see where that goes. Now, documents flying around the Virgin Islands. I don't know. What are we going to do? All I say is this. Time is longer than twine. And so, while I talk about the Superior Court, highly aligned with the Democrat Party, the DeYoungs, the Bryans, the Turnbulls, the people who appoint and nominate them, and nominate and appoint them to the Superior Court. And they now have over 11,500 cases in backlog. So they could fake it and make it. Look at this, the District Court of the Virgin Islands. They seem aligned too. One judge said it, the next judge reversed it. In the end, it didn't move the needle one way or the other because Southland Gaming outlaws VIGL, who had no other choice but to try to work with the government in power, even though the government in power was undermining them and cutting them down at every step of the way. They haven't done a thing to the Randolph James racetrack. Not one thing. St. Croix is suffering again. The big island like a stepchild. But I mustn't say that. I've been to St. Croix. I've seen the roads. I've seen the bridges. I've seen the overhanging bushes. I've seen the amount of places that shut down. I've seen the projects that not moving. And then I see the beautiful White Castle on the hill, facing the beaches, the legislature of the Virgin Islands. Them guys have a beautiful, beautiful finished building that they could walk into and reign on top the people of the Virgin Islands. So are the district court judges the same as the Superior Court judges? I mean, you could go back and look at the cases of Ida Smith in the courts under Judge Curtis Gomez. Go back and see who runs to district court and for what they run to district court for. And notice the supervisor of the elections, you notice what she said? I am glad that Ida Smith et al. Has taken me to court because I know the court is going to send it back to the district court in the Virgin Islands because I don't have no right to be in the district court of Columbia. Well, yeah, where we're going to see. Because I know for sure that's what you would want. Because maybe you think that the district court is just like the superior court. And isn't that a sad thing to say? That you have people in the Virgin Islands who are highly connected, who would violate laws, commit election fraud, defame candidates, take the very border election to court. People who are the friends who sit on the border elections illegally, admit to fraud, pal around with the Attorney General, the delegate of the Virgin Islands, and the governor of the Virgin Islands. And the people can't do a damn thing about it. But I say, for now. So I will come off at the Virgin Islands and go to the US. You hear me talk about USAID, and people, some of these podcasts gonna sound similar, but you got to do it every time. How could a Biden transition team member join a not-for-profit in 2021 in the heart of the Biden administration? Wow. I mean, this is madness. Them guys open a illegal migrant center in San Antonio, Texas, called Family Endeavors. Now we find out he has never held one illegal migrant, not one. Their contract was for $18 million per month. I'll say it again, $18 million per month. Yet the shelter remains empty, has never been used, and they've been collecting $18 million a month. This not-for-profit, this NGO, this is a Biden transition team member. You see how the thing go? The same thing that happened in the Virgin Islands, same thing that happened in the US, or rather, the same thing that happened in the US. These Democrats teach each one the same things. In 2021, it started out with $50 million. That is what the contract started out with, $50 million. You understand? Now, they upped the contract and said, we're going to give you the contract from 2021 to 2025. And the contract would be up to, notice, it's always up to. They never tell you 50 million and it's done. It's $50 million up to $658 million. And in 2021, they were getting 18 million per month. But in 2022, all of a sudden, the contract went from up to $658 million to $1.1 billion. People, are you seeing the modus operandi? Do you see the same things happening in the Virgin Islands? When I call it out, it seems like it is one here, one. It's the same across the board. It's the same modus operandi. That's how they do the dirty deeds. Corruption is easy to follow if you understand how to follow it. Oh, from $50 million to $1.1 billion, the contract get extended to. That make $57 million that goes to $157 million seem like nothing. But it's not the amounts It is the game. It is the money grabs. It is the illegal injustice that allows for these money grabs when the courts themselves, in the end, do nothing to stop the corruption. I continue. Now we understanding that the United States may pull out of NATO, and the Trump administration signals that that would save billions. It will bring home troops, and in the end, it might bring more peace. And I'm saying this: the United States have helped every single country in this world, it seems, much more than it has ever helped its own citizens. And that is a sad, sad thing. Sad. You have people in the Virgin Islands, 2 Category 5s, Puerto Rico, hurricane after hurricane after hurricane, flooding after flooding. You have Florida, hurricanes. You have California, fires, earthquakes, North Carolina, hurricanes, flooding. Now South Carolina, fires, Maui, fires. You had New Orleans, brutalized by hurricane. You had New Jersey, brutalized by hurricane. None of these areas was ever given billions after billions after billions, pumping into the people that's suffering in these countries. You want to tell me that when you hear these things, my people, all my people listening in and watching, it don't hurt your heart to find out that these people put more billions into DEI, woke stuff, transgenderism, giving young children hormone blockers without their parents' knowledge, bringing in an influx of illegal immigrants across the globe. Our US taxpayer dollars was funding illegal immigration all across Europe, all over. You want to tell me the people in the Virgin Islands you couldn't do with just a dividend of $1,000 every month to add to whatever you're making? Doesn't matter how much. Every single one of us, we're getting $1,000 just to help us out after 2 Category 5. Then we're hearing that the government of the United States gave so much billions to Ukraine, and the man have no respect for the office of the President of the United States, arguing back and forth in front of the media. And all our political leaders here in the Virgin Islands who love to talk about respect, who love to talk about insubordination, who love to talk about protocol and the way it's supposed to be. You still sit in the Virgin Islands and defend Zelensky and talk about he was only telling the truth. Trump should never talk to him. So, man, he should have been me. I should have been Trump. Because I would have tell him to his face in front of the media, you're not only ungrateful, you need to leave the White House. Not another dime going to Ukraine. And furthermore, I done with you. I pull in all my military. I am taking back all the military might that I've given you. After them hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, this president, who was part of the setup to impeach Trump, have the guts to come into the White House and operate that way? That's why I said the hypocrisy of many Democrats is seen by the world. The hemorrhaging voters, they are imploding. And the people of the Virgin Islands, it's up to you if you want to ride that dead horse. Because I've given up riding that dead horse many years ago when I see how they treat the people of the Virgin Islands, they own. I give up on the dead horse when I realize that they could thief what they want and do what they want and then go in court and get what they want. They're that corrupt. All of them is my friend. I told you that before. I could call the name. The most they're going to do is vex. All of them is my friend. But like I tell you, when I talk politics, I don't gonna move. Because when they come around me talking politics, we're going to be enemy. It might even get to blows. So we stay talking about how your family, brother, how your son doing, how your daughter doing. Hey, tell your wife hello for me. Tell your mother hello for me. Because I know that a lot of them mother and father didn't raise them to be like that. None of them. You understand? And at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. A lot of people in the Virgin Islands like to talk about decorum. And a lot of people in the Virgin Islands like to operate as if only them know professionalism. You understand? A lot of them in the Virgin Islands are good pretenders. But the time is coming when the pretense will have to stop. Because, like I said, the United States is at a crossroads. Continue. Zelensky is saying, let Ukraine into NATO and I will step aside and Ukraine will be able to have elections. You see why I tell you? He is the same man who talking about democracy and wanting to hold on and war to benefit his country. But he disband all opposition. Don't have one opposition party in Ukraine right now. He declared martial law so he could stay in power. I wonder how much of us in the US Virgin Islands or the United States or the world would allow Trump to declare martial law so he could stay in power and declare war on whoever he wants to. And just stay fighting war to stay in power. I bet you none. But I love Zelensky. You understand? Why Zelensky ain't having no election, but he believe in democracy? Why Zelensky have opposition leaders locked up in the jail, but he believe in democracy? You see Trump got anybody locked up in jail who is a political opponent yet? But Biden and the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland had so many indictments against Trump. So I guess they wanted to lock up the political opponent too. So what good for the goose is good for the gander. So in the next few months, I don't want to hear nobody complain because I love Zelensky. Zelensky could do what he wants with all your money. Excuse me. But we can't do what we want and demand our money back. We can't do what we want and say, well, since I could give Zelensky and all the people around the world so much millions and billions and trillions, we expect $100,000 a month for the next 5 years for every single American citizen, regardless of where you be, whether you're in the US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Guam, or the Mariana Islands. Oh, I sound crazy. $100,000 for every American citizen, especially them in the Virgin Islands. Oh, I gonna cause inflation because it's too much money flooding the market. I give the same to Zelensky. Or you want to give a Biden transition team member 18 million a month he will gain in 2021 for a shelter that never hosts nobody. That's why I'm talking the truth. Because I want you to break it down in them simple terms. While many in the Democratic Party and the acolytes who don't have a sense in the brain will defend the most dumb stuff, they will come out and criticize me for saying, give the people of the Virgin Islands and the United States $100,000 a month for 1 year. It cannot come up to 1/3 of what they give to Ukraine to fight a war that they can't win. Then I raise up the Ukrainian flag. And you talk about Zelensky, about leader of the free world. Zelensky? We're living in some weird times. So you want to tell me that Zelensky showing more leadership quality than President Trump? The man who given him the help he need? Obama never gave him nothing. Trump gave him weapons. And he still sit there and let them use the nonsense about him to try to impeach Trump. He come in full circle when you do nonsense, corrupted things. God don't sleep. God don't sleep. You know what I'm saying? And I'll say this much. Really stand up more and be honest with our own selves. Because I'm going to tell you this now. You see, Donald Trump, he's the most effective leader this world has ever known, except to maybe Putin. Because while you call Putin dictator and you call Putin all kind of things, Putin minding his business and doing what the hell he want. None of you could stop him. Nobody has stopped Putin from doing a thing. Nobody. Putin go where he want. Putin don't have a fear in the world about nothing. You put tariffs on Putin. You put sanctions on Putin. Putin went and farm bricks and do business with some of the biggest countries in the world, including Africa and Asia. What are they doing to Putin? Talking, it don't mean nothing. It's about governance, whether good or bad. The ability to move things. Now here comes Trump back on the world stage and Putin gone quiet. You know why? Putin don't have to do a thing. Because the only person who could ever match up to Putin and make him come to the negotiating table is Trump. Only one. Trump could put on sanctions on Putin tomorrow that hurt because Trump don't care about optics. Trump don't care about what people think. The media could go to hell. Trump don't care. In fact, Trump is his own media now. The same Trump you guys don't like could tomorrow decide, listen, I want to end the war in Ukraine. I am pulling all my ammunition, all the weapons that I'm giving to Ukraine, all the money, it's cut off. And I have nothing to, I take in a neutral stance on Ukraine. What Europe gonna say? America been paying the way for NATO for decades. They ain't paying the fair share. Taking the presidents of the United States to be jackasses. For years. Trump came in for 4 years and made them pay their fair share. Now the same Europe, the NATO countries, got the gall to when Zelensky walk out of the US to talk about the making deals. Remember I tell you that them same agreements that they signed with Zelensky gonna be abandoned for Trump to come in and make a deal with Ukraine. It's either that or they're gonna put the children from England, wherever they come from, France and Germany, wherever, on the battlefield in Ukraine to die. Because you do not expect the United States to join a war simply because you have asinine leaders in countries who are willing to see the people die over a megalomaniac who has gotten millions and billions of dollars and still ain't doing nothing in the war, but he has big $1 million bank accounts, $1 million homes in the US, and his ministers have $1 million homes and $1 million bank accounts. We must be, listen, we gotta be really, really foolish in the US Virgin Islands, or any United States territory to be even supporting that nonsense and talking about you are going against your country that is determining that they want peace over war. and the war hawks want war over peace. And are you joining that? You guys hate Trump that much that you willing former Navy people, former military people in the U.S. Virgin Islands who understand and been to war. You really are asking to go to war? You want your children to go to war instead of peace? Where you negotiate a good peace deal. Don't tell you he ain't give a toot about Ukraine. He just don't want the Russians, the pro-Russians, the people who have DNA Russian, to go through other attacks by the Ukrainians like what they did in the Donbass. And he don't want Europe expanding and coming on his doorstep. He consider that an act of war. So what would the United States do if Russia all of a sudden make a deal with Canada, make a deal with the Bahamas, Cuba, make a deal and come right next to the United States and start to build military bases and saying that he expanding Russia and forming the new Soviet Union? We gotta be fair. But some of us don't have fairness in us. All they know is corruption. Bend down, roll over, go along, get along. So you sing for your supper, and worse. I continue. There are many Democrats who cheered for stimulus checks during COVID. They cheer when Trump give out stimulus checks. They cheer when Biden give millions and billions for COVID. Inside COVID, you had the most authoritarian policies I have ever seen. But what you ain't realize is that they gave stimulus bailout. It was more so for the banks, the millionaires, the Hollywood elite. Can you imagine you have politicians, and I mean Democrats, Republicans, all of them were taking PPP loans? Even Oprah Winfrey take a PPP loan. I could tell you about them. Them is billionaire. The one time that they could have done something decent, which is to let the PPP loans go to people who need it, and they who are millionaires and billionaires, all they had to do was cut a check, and they were good for themselves. They took PPP loans. So while the Democrats cheered on PPP loans, my viewers, don't you realize it's the very Democrats? Some are the rhinos, but it's the political class and them same rich Hollywood people who now against Trump, giving dividends to the people of the United States who ain't get no help. They're against it like crazy, coming out in numbers. Now the political class coming out in numbers, because guess what? Behind them, they have no supporters. They're paying off people still to try to disrupt Republican gatherings. But when they come out to speak against Trump, they got soul behind them. All they're doing is optics. Maxine Waters going down by HUD, trying to carry a letter to who is in charge at HUD. The man just tells you, listen, the man in a meeting and he can't come to you. You see how he feel? You see how it look? Because that is what they do to people all the time for years, year in, year out, under Democrat presidents. They kick who they want out of the press room. A lot of people, Trump get rid of one for propaganda. The whole media parrot the same thing. And today, over 22 people saying the same thing across all these media outlets. It sounds like confusion, but it is the same exact talking points. Not only talking points, the same exact words. That's Democrats and their policies for you right now. Oh. The Democrats are on the wrong side of history. The Democrats not reading the tea leaves. Party is imploding because they support nonsensical policies that nobody of reasonable common sense could ever accept. In fact, the Democrat Party doesn't even have a crop of political leaders who are going to try to lead the party in the next 20 years. I said it, 20. Who? Kamala Harris? What they're going to do? Recycle Barack Obama? Who they're going to bring? Jeffries? Jeffries himself seemed to be tied up in the USAID money too. Almost all these politicians who talking against the auditing of USAID look like they've been receiving through NGOs and kickbacks from the same USAID. It's just all over the news. I tell you, I could come every day and just give you new information of who getting kickbacks, who have a daughter who is in an NGO, who have a family member, a farmer, transition member, somebody who listen, it even have farmer senators, farmer CIA directors. They're all over the pharmaceutical companies. They're all over the military industrial complex companies. They're all over the media companies. Don't talk about Facebook, Meta. They were all over Twitter until Elon Musk came in and he said, no, we don't need former CIA and FBI agents to come in here to monitor the people illegally and put out narratives. And the same is true throughout Europe and the US Virgin Islands. Think about it. They're on all the boards. They recycle them to the various agencies. Only them have ideas. And so they have been given this false sense of security that nothing is going to happen. I personally don't care about evidence anymore. I don't care about the Epstein list, the Epstein evidence. That is for the law enforcement people. Because I realize that they're dangling that like a carrot. They don't even dangle no carrot in front of Fahie. They could keep that. That is for the law enforcement arm. When you take people to trial, when you indict people, arrest people, pop walk them and put them in front of court, we gonna see the evidence when you present it in court. That is good enough for me. I want to see arrests. I want to see indictments. Both locally, here in the USVI and in the United States. And if it must be, I want the long arm of justice reach out from the FBI and the Department of Justice of the United States into the Virgin Islands. Pop walk some of them. I could wait until you carry them in court to see the evidence. Go up in the office and pull them out in handcuff. Put them in leg irons, let the people them see them walk out. Raid them like how I raid conservatives and I raid journalists. Walk up inside whatever government agency they're in. Deliver your warrant. And take them into custody. Let them go and get the hearing for the reading of the rights. Lay a judge in the Virgin Islands. Hold a bail hearing and decide if you could trust them to not run out of the territory. Because for $1,000 I say I was a flight risk. The thief in millions. And they want to leave the Virgin Islands to go look after the house. But I want to lock me up for $1,000 and I's a flight risk with more children in the Virgin Islands than some I have. Some of them doing more, I looking fame and glory off of them. Not me. All I saying is congratulations. And let education do it work. Because education is the weapon that's going to change the world. It might change the Virgin Islands one by one, all of them. I see them. I see them. Watch them coming. Because they ain't tete. They don't need me to give them a job. They don't need me to buy up thing for them to walk in. They don't need me to pull no string to get them ahead. All of them stand on their own 2 feet. Their own 2 feet. And if they can't stand, they're going to learn to stand. Because I ain't raising no fools. And all who want to talk about who ain't raising what? DNA is the most important thing. And remember I tell her this say, all who talking walking. You understand? All who talking walking. Because while Trump mashing up the United States by simply auditing, that's why I say Trump mashing up the United States. He's a threat to democracy. He's not doing things the right way. You're going to do things the right way and I say damn crooked. Huh? We got more crooks in the Virgin Islands than in the United States. Because per capita for 89,000, more crooks than anything else. The government workers, just over what, 9,000? I don't even know how much in the government, but let's say they have 9,000 government employees. Out of the 9,000, the rank and file, half of them ain't corrupt. The other half don't even know about corruption. But you see the leadership? And who vexed dead? I'm going to say it. You see the leadership because you can't thief millions and you can't go along to get along unless you're in the top rung. The officials, and I say it again to any government official, if you know that you have leaders who are corrupted and they're breaking the law and they're asking you to break the law and you know it is a violation of the law, if you break that law, whether you're frightened for your job or not, you are corrupt. How much more you're going to sell your soul? Especially if you're selling your soul and you get nothing in return. So you're selling your soul for a paycheck that you're supposed to earn the legal way, then you're just as corrupt. And you should go jail too. I have no pity for people who know better. In this life, the Lord provide for those who work to provide for themselves. So I want to be up in it. And I want to be fancy. And I want to be in the clique. And I want to be a certain level in society that you commit crimes. Well, it would have done you better to quit or let them terminate you and go and bag in Kmart, go and bag in Plaza Extra, go and cut grass, go and simply do a legitimate work, a job for legitimate pay and take care of your family, than to thief along with them and when done 5 years later, you indicted and go in jail for the same people who may have been setting you up. Because one thing I learned, there is no loyalty among thieves, but you hardly find those in the highest rungs of the corruption go in jail. They use plausible deniability. And to get around plausible deniability, you got to be really good. Because you got to be watching them for years. You got to be documenting them for years. And you got to have your I's and your T's dotted and crossed and your ducks in a row. And you can't play with them. Because anytime you see you slip, you're dead. You got to be perfect. It takes practice. And that is why I'm saying to the people of the Virgin Islands, while we are watching the world, in Romania, Serbia, hundreds of thousands in the street demanding new elections, get rid of a corrupt government, get rid of courts that want to overturn legitimate results because they don't agree with it. Hundreds of thousands in the streets. I'm telling you, it is fast approaching. That might be the only way. And that is why I tell you, my people of the Virgin Islands, I don't be on no street protesting. My work ain't allowing it. You understand? But if it must be, then protest it will be in the times that I am available. And that is why on my show I keep saying, and St. Croix, Dr. Cleopatra Peter and Karen Dickinson every Tuesday by the legislature, speaking out, standing up and speaking out. If you can join that, If you can't join that, join us on social media and spread it and share it. Next one of your friends, a family member, speak to them. Open the eyes. Don't do like some of these people who want to run up under when Harriet Mercer have her Monday night show and giving the information to educate and to enlighten the people. You want to run in and talk the most negativity with no decorum. I said a word on my thing. They have no decorum. Them is government people coming in and talking in the worst. They have no style. But monkey know a limb to jump on. But to my good friend Harriet Mercer, I tell you, do not be deterred. Speak your truth. Give the information that you are aware of from the news and from the people of the Virgin Islands. You don't have to be perfectly right. You just have to be perfectly willing to speak about it. And all of them losers, yeah, I call them losers, who's singing for the supper and trying to defend the indefensible, the time gonna come. Because all of us, every single one of us, get sick. All of us gonna get old if we ain't died before. And all of us gonna die sooner or later. So what is to come is gonna come. But I'm saying, the people of the Virgin Islands and to the world, join a righteous cause. Corruption cannot continue. It's destroying the world. The Virgin Islands on the brink of collapse. The brink of collapse. Financially, economically, socially, any which lee you want to put. We on the verge of collapse. People shooting guns in broad daylight. Them things sound like AR-15s or AK-47. I don't even know. Because my thing is, when a society has devolved to the point that people holding guns in broad daylight, people robbing people in broad daylight, and the police force is telling you one of the main focus is vagrancy, you want to go after the people them who sleeping on the street at night, who homeless, people who walking up and down with not much clothes on and they look kind of mentally crazy, as we look call them, then something is wrong. Something is wrong. When you look at your paycheck and you compare it to what you could buy, and you got to make a decision between food and medicine, something is wrong. Between gas or electricity, something is wrong. And none of our leaders speak into it. But Trump speaking to it for America. So little Trump, mini Trump in the Virgin Islands, Governor Albert Bryan, start to speak to the people and find solutions like Trump, your big brother Trump, in the US. Because you sound like him, you look like him now almost. Or to the Democrats in the Virgin Islands, when Governor Albert Bryan go to President Trump and tell him that he want to put some tariff on the BVI, and Trump come into the Virgin Islands and willfully do the optics what the Democrats like to do, and decide that he want to sign the executive order licking a 35% tariff on top the BVI for Bryan, all hell gonna break loose because he gonna do it right down there in Emancipation Garden with Biden and Roach and both sides aim, and he's signing it. I want to see if all the Democrat senators them gonna show up and the highly aligned Democrat majority gonna come and stand up and cheer Trump. It's ridiculous, the things I see and hear on top social media. And so I must commend my viewers and my listeners, respectfully so. You have come in every night. This is the 46th program episode. And you have come in every night, said your good evenings. Respectfully disagree with me. Respectfully agree. Give your questions. This is how you do it. This is how each one teach one. We must not be bogged down in the ridiculous. And yes, Naomi, I hear you. All of us have to stay focused. That is why you see I go around to come back and I'll tie it in the end. Because our focus must be collectively on the common sense policies that make our lives better. that are going to help our children and the children. Not this BS about gender and who is they, them, and flags flying at the legislature. Imagine you flying a pride flag. Later at the Virgin Islands, they put pride flag at the White House. Question: when we gonna start to fly a flag for the people of the United States who believe in Christian values? Take out Christian and we're gonna just say values. And so we all fly a flag of integrity, of accountability, of transparency. Huh? All you need is a black, white, on the bottom, and red, white, and blue with stars above it, and call it the flag of integrity. Fly that then. Because we're flying everything. We having Black History Month. I don't do Black history. I put up little things here and there. But I really don't do Black history. Because Black history for me is all of us. Every single day, every minute of every second of every hour of every year. Just do your research and you see what black people do. And you give a dab to your chest and you say, well, listen, enough respect to that. I am glad that they did so that we could do better. So I am saying to every single one of my listeners, we're coming down to the end. It's an amazing thing to watch President Trump battle a media that don't like him, Democrats who don't like him, some Republicans who don't like him, never Trumpers who don't like him, people in the territories that he have to govern that don't like him. And yet he goes out there every single day and he makes deals. This company gonna bring in $100 billion. Another company bringing in 50,000 jobs. That's what he does in his spare time. And so he just, again, another contractor, another company want to come into the US and spend millions and billions of dollars to do semiconductors. You have another company want to come in from Mexico and start to build Honda Civics in Arizona instead of Mexico just to avoid Trump tariffs. And at the same time, while Trump tries so hard to give dividends to the ones that are feeling the crunch, what are the Democrats doing? They're just against for being against. It's like them fools who don't like Fahie just because Fahie is Fahie. Or you don't like me because I don't intend to ever thief nobody money to sign off on anything that I know never happened. And me ain't joining no corrupted crew. I don't give a toot. I don't know nobody. I born alone. And who are my friends by choice. And they could take the friendship when they want, like I could take mine. But at the end of the day, nobody could make nobody be corrupt. And so I love my listeners because I love my listeners and my viewers. Because the good thing about them, they could tell me anything and I don't be offended. Even the worst things, I will never be offended. Because at the end of the day, in order to have a dialogue, you have to have 2 people or 3 people going back and forth. And because somebody don't agree with you, don't mean that they can't offer you something that you can learn from. That's the problem we got in the Virgin Islands and the US now, it seems. They're just literally deranged. They cannot have a conversation with you as long as you say anything Trump. If you say anything that they disagree with, you become an automatic enemy. Then, so how we gonna function as a society? So you're telling me that the Democrats' mandate now is to so dislike Trump that anybody who says anything about a policy, even says something that even resembles actually agreeing with Trump, they are now coons, racists, misogynists. They are Marxists, Nazis. They don't like America. They are a threat to democracy. They are far-right thinkers, conspiracy theorists. All of that because they just happen to like one thing that Trump said. Then who really is unintelligent? Who really not seeing or reading the tea leaves? I wonder if some of these people actually in charge of anybody as employees, or they own any business where they have to supervise people. It must be hell working under people like I. Who don't disagree more than me and Harriet? And I always call in Harriet because at the end of the day, nobody don't disagree with me more than Harriet. Me and Harriet don't disagree about all kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's the discussion that is important. Because in the discussion, you learn things, you appreciate things, and you also understand that it is good practice to not always be right. And that is why when I make mistakes, I come here first. And I say, I made a mistake. My apologies. This is the correction. That is how you do it. And I give credit to the people of the Virgin Islands for one thing. As much as you have suffered over all these decades, a quiet resolve that I see in the Virgin Islands. And that quiet resolve recently I have seen is to do your part, our part, if and when we are ever called upon. And that is why I say to all of you who believe that I'm going to walk in front of any jury and I'm going to just look around to see if I happen to see somebody who is a cousin of a friend, of an uncle, of an auntie, of a grandmother, of a great-grandfather. Them days done. You got too many people in St. Croix who tired. Too many people in St. John who tired. Don't talk about St. Thomas. St. Thomas busting at it seems. You got people in St. Thomas who ready for the thing. Ready, 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 ready. A lot of them, I don't know how they're going up on the jury because they don't make up their mind. A lot of them don't say I need to go jail because they got eye on recording, taking money. They got eye on recording, asking for money, begging. I never see people beg so. You beg more than the man who looking at dollar on his side by the post office, down by Niski and on the road. I never see big man who making so much hundreds of thousands of dollars. Beg so. Just begging. Eh? You're right, Harriet. You dissent with love. I like that. You dissent with love, my people. You see? She says she dissents with love. I don't take a lot of the dissent. It don't feel like love sometimes, but in love, it don't feel like love. But at the end of the day, it's all in the end. You're right. It's love. It's love. Because if you cannot tell somebody exactly how you feel respectfully, then you're in a bad way. Well, with me, you're in trouble because I can tell you how I feel regardless. You know how much licks I don't get for it? They tell me I don't practice why I don't preach. And I'll be the first to say, well, when it comes to politics, I talk a lot of righteousness, but I'm a human being too. You got other pieces that not 100, but that's a work in progress. But when it come to corruption, I'm going to tell all you to how your face are you crooked. I could call me corrupt in other things. And some of it I might agree with if you want to call it corruption. But at the end of the day, like the governor say, what the governor say? My personal business is my personal business. And if all I stand up and agree and accept it, well, my personal business, a lot of I want to make it our business. But my personal business is mine. And the one thing I could tell you about my personal business, are you going to can't make me and Harriet and Naomi and Cheryl not be friends? And all of them is woman, them is my friend. You understand? Barbara Lauren gonna be my friend. Cleopatra Peter gonna be my friend. Karen gonna be my friend. Oakland Benta gonna be my friend. And on and on and on. Because that's my choice. And I can't tell me what to choose. But I don't choose to be crooked. Me ain't doing that. I ain't come St. Thomas. Get my kids. I'm a U.S. citizen to come here and brutalize the people of the Virgin Islands. Somebody who come from where I come from. U.S. citizen now, I should be shamed. I gonna call all you out. I don't care. I come here, make laws that enrich yourself and the cabal. And then I gone. Big house back home, big house in the U.S. And got the people in the Virgin Islands suffering. You need blows. So I say this. What is the great takeaway tonight? What's the great takeaway? The great takeaway is this, my people. It doesn't matter what is happening worldwide. Everything seems to be run by politics. And from politics, invariably, it begins with lies. To be corrupt, it comes with lies. Lies, lies, lies. Whether by omission, whether just blatant lies, whether they tell it to you in front of your face but you don't believe them. The governor tell you what we're running in the Virgin Islands is a shell game. We stealing from Peter to pay Paul. Susan Carlson at the Daily News say, oh, so that is what it is? And she ain't had a follow-up question. Really? Because I got 9 follow-up questions right in my head just saying it here now again. Oh, so you're playing a shell game and you're stealing from Peter to give Paul. You're doing that with federal funds? See the first question? Are you doing that with federal funds? Easy question because you're taking from Peter to pay Paul is a shell game. Does your shell game involve federal funds? So I tell you, the media, the media is really crazy. My son said something today, I see it in an interview where he said, it doesn't take much for me to keep the information and to analyze it. So I don't have to spend time. My brain just flies around. How in the world could the reporter for the Daily News don't have a follow-up question after the governor of the Virgin Islands just tell you he running a shell game? You know why it's a shell game? Because money laundering includes shell games. RICO involves shell games. And this is why I said they tell you who they are. But it's if you believe them. Everything corrupt around the world, my people. That's the takeaway. Everything corrupt around the world have the very same characteristics. Politics, lies, money grabs, and legal injustice. Every single one of them around the globe. You have politics, 3 branches of government, highly aligned, that suffer the people, brutalize the people. They have no outlet for relief. Make laws, sign laws, uphold laws, corrupted laws. The Board of Elections is a prime example. You have 2 different set of laws clashing inside Title 18, and the AG can't do nothing or say nothing. clashing. The legislature don't even want to intervene, so they don't live in this community. The courts don't realize the nonsense that is happening. So nobody in the Virgin Islands, in the political class, realize the harm they're doing to the community by having a corrupt board of election and a corrupt supervisor of elections. And when I say a corrupt board of elections, it must be a corrupt board of elections if any single one of them under defending the fact that the supervisor tried to supersede their power and take it away from them with a corrupt set of senators. Any single board member makes the entire board corrupt if you still allow Raymond Williams, with all of his conflicts and his fraud, to continue to be AG, twin for the governor, twin for the delegate to Congress, and he's the twin to everything that is corrupt on the board for decades. He and Abramson good. Abramson good. All them man know one another. Parks and Abramson good. She and Arturo good. She and Wells good. You want me continue? All of them good. Every single one of them good. But they ain't good for the people. None of them could stand up and say, Lord, let me stop me corruption. And just on behalf of the people of the VA, who by now know better, let us just change the ways. We're going to put back the laws how they're supposed and intended to be. I, as supervisor, going to resign because I have violated the laws. I have defamed the candidate, interfered in an election, and I was insubordinate beyond belief by taking the Board of Elections to court when I told them that I informed the candidate that she only had 2 ways to appeal, either the board or court. And when the board ruled, she still take them to court. Let me tell her something. All hell is going to be there to pay before 2025 is over. I was that Collister Fahie says so. Because I am corrupted. And because of our politics, lies, money grabs, and legal injustice, you have brought the Virgin Islands to disrepute across the board. The Virgin Islands is crashing. I'm going to say it again. Economically, financially, socially, legally, judicially, legislatively, executively. We're crashing. There is no way that we are going to stop this boat from capsizing. No way. WAPA is going to pull us under. This Southern Gameland fast, this long game what I have been playing from since 2003 is going to drag us under. The waste management debacle, all them sexual harassment claims that I think done gone because I pay one little settlement, the people of the Virgin Islands don't want the truth about that. That going to pull us under. The amount of gifts I give away in project funds. All of a sudden, people no longer want to be in government. They gone back to the boards. They make sure that they get elected as chairman of their boards. They are now chairman of Waiko, chairman of Megan's Bay Beach, chairman of Port Authority. All because of what? So it's for a reason. And I'm going to leave it at that. Because like I said, anytime you see I start to talk, a lot of people, the rear end start to pucker. But just know this, and I'm going to say it again. When I speak to the people, I speak about things that in the public realm, in the newspapers, because I take what they say and decipher what they not say. And they don't tell you about it. They always give you the information. That is why I know. My people of the Virgin Islands, just like the people of the USA, is fighting back. They're fighting back. I tell you, I've been reading Anonymous again. Anonymous now up to about maybe 7,000. Anonymous all over. Anonymous is up to 7,000. How I could hear all the things them that I hearing and reading on social media, and the governor and nobody. So governor, you don't know that all your agencies in flux? You don't know that all your agencies them got clicks and battles going on like crazy? Who not like who? And who plan to out who? Hmm? You ain't see your former chief of staff down Whopper. Somebody out, somebody down there with electric car and the husband. And threatening, but I tell you, he got more still. More. Ain't me who say it, Anonymous who say it. All over social media, Governor, if you want to know what's going on in your agencies, because obviously the leaders that you have in these agencies are not telling you the truth. But you don't tell much truth sometimes either, you know. But since you start to back Trump, since you start to back Trump policies, man, you got me taking off my glasses and watching you a little bit different, because you look like Orange Man good to you now. But I got a feeling Orange Man is only good because Epstein files, them might come out. And Trump, because the art of the deal is who said that the victims from Epstein Island were prostitutes. I guess they were child prostitutes. And who said that Trump should have get shot by mistake? And who said Trump should go jail by mistake? I go ahead play with people. I go ahead play with people. I see where power be now. I see where power be now. I better pray Trump don't come St. Thomas and ask for Collister Fahie to just even come around. You understand? Because just by being in the vicinity, somehow I might go crazy. Somehow I might go crazy. But just know this. Me ain't know nothing more than I know. I don't know nothing more than I know. I ain't coming here on social media and trying to hype nothing. Me don't know nothing about nothing. I waiting just like everybody else. I want to see somebody get pop walk. Because when I pop walk me, you remember? When I pop walk me for no reason, big time setup. I went to the airport with my handcuff them on, and I had my head held high. And people were watching me and all kind of people and da. And I take it like a man. I want to see how much I can ball long water. Because remember, Callaway come court with his phone by his ear with a big grin. You understand? O'Neill come to court looking dapper. She even was, I wasn't going to say it on top of this, but she was even flaunting she assets. And Martinez coming like he was a businessman. The media take that, but they couldn't get no picture inside when they put her handcuff and leg irons, right? But that's the picture that I wanted to see. I ain't glad for nobody. And the issues, all I say, if it's good for the goose, it's supposed to be good for the gander. That's what I say. And I have no fear in telling the people of the Virgin Islands that I just like you. I ain't know nothing. I sick and tired of hearing indictments coming. I sick and tired of hearing who gonna get locked up next month, this month. Make care about all that. I want to see it happen, and I gonna report it after. So I go say, oh God, well, it's now Martinez, O'Neill, Carl White, Hendricks, Charlemagne wife Sasha, Richardson, Tom, Dick, Harry, the judge, the lieutenant, the priest, the pastor. Oh, you're joking. That's what I'm going to say. You see how the community jump on social. I tell you, the consortium good, The consortium good. The consortium very good at putting something out quick that is a bright light to hide the rest. You see how much comments went under the VA consortium for the pastor who was raping this young girl? Everybody blaze up. Everybody blaze up. Everybody Iowa peel on the pastor. Peel on the pastor. But are you ain't see across the consortium? He said that Brian is a dwarf Trump. Oh, are you ain't see that? That's what I supposed to be looking at. That Brian begging for his supper too. Brian is a mini Trump right now. He even got the confidence that he could get Trump to sort out the tariff deal with BVI. But I saw one Trump come to the Virgin Islands, come sign the executive order here. Because on that day, I walk in with my drum and I pong in my drum, come around the signing. And all I gonna be saying is this here. Orange man good. Orange man good. Orange man good. Do not let these misleaders I call our elected politicians fool anymore the people of the Virgin Islands. The world is waking up. You wake up and realize that they lie, they play politics, they are into money grabs, and they have a legal injustice system that are protecting them. Remember I tell you so. You see how hypocritical they look? How much people you hear on top the radio today say, Governor Brian is a mini Trump. Governor Brian is a mini Trump. He want deregulation. He want immigration, illegal immigrants deported. Yeah, he ain't none of that. None of that at all. But in the Daily News, right next to a pastor raping a young girl. And so everybody's eyes is on the depravity, forgetting that the same people who you elect and love did 10 times worse than the pastor. But the pastor face end up in the VA consortium. But none of them that allow Epstein to do the same thing on Little St. James end up in the consortium or the Daily News. Yet, so to my people of the Virgin Islands and the world, we're coming to a close. Just remember that. Yes, it's politics, lies, land grabs, money grabs, and legal injustice. But all of that could get put aside, cast asunder, if we, the people of the Virgin Islands, continue to awaken, continue to speak up, even if it's anonymous. Let me put anonymous to 50,000 now. Let's start to get more anonymous out there. Talk the things so that I could see it and I could look on. And once I could match it to something that is in the public realm, I will speak about it because I don't do melee. You understand? I want the information to be verified every single time. So all who know that things coming our your way, may I worried about you. Just like how I wasn't worried about Martinez, O'Neill, and White when all the story was going around and I was spreading propaganda. Oh, I recuse myself from the bidding. All kind of story was going on. Oh, man, nothing about that. I ain't involved when I know damn well I involved when I got recorded. Maybe I didn't know I got recorded. But even without recording, I should have remember I said them same thing there. But my question to you is this. Even though the politics, the lies, the money grabs, and the legal injustice, are you really do them thing on your own? Or are you got people you are dealing with? I encourage you to do the same thing. Because jail ain't built for some people, you know. Some of you don't even have enough bottom for jail. Much less mental strength. You understand? But some of them do. That's what the streets say. Anyhow, my people of the Virgin Islands, the world, this is the Collister Fahie show. This is Collister Fahie right here. This is episode 46. Just a few more away from 50. Imagine that. And on that night, the 50th night, I'm going to try to do something special for that night. And rightfully so. Not this. On January 1st, I tell you, I get an epiphany. This wasn't planned. This Collister Fahie show wasn't planned. Nobody plans to be here. Remember, I was going to do it every night, Monday to Sunday. Nobody plans to sit down from 7 to 9 and have a conversation with the people that he feels are the most affected by the corruption and the corrupted few. And yet, that was the task. That was the ask. And I decided to do it. And so I hope all of my listeners, my viewers, because at first it was just videos that I put up. And then another epiphany. Friends of mine who said, you know, you could do this live. And I said, you know, you're right. Because even the videos that I do is just like this. They're just a conversation I'm having with people. And I understand and see how people suffer. And that is why we are here. And now I'm on YouTube also. I tell you, at Collister Fahie 647. And the reason for this is, eventually, the people of the Virgin Islands are going to take a stand. And all I ask you to do is this. Do not take a stand for fake people. Do not take a stand for retribution. Do not take a stand if all you want to do is get what you can get, just like the others get. Do not take a stand because you feel that you deserve to get what other people get in. No, take a stand if you believe that the collective, every single body deserve better healthcare, better schools, better roads. That is what you must do. That is what you must do. That is true change. And when you do that, the whole succeeds. Higher salaries, decent raise of pay. Not for the big and the upper echelons, but for everybody reasonably. Everybody gets what they deserve. Gas prices will go down. Decisions will be made that help everybody and not the few. And so, like I keep saying, and people, sooner or later you will get it. Find yourself a Trump. You see the governor, Albert Brandon, pretending to be a Trump? You think they're foolish? They understand that they have gone too far. They have done too much. And they have made people suffer for too long. And so we love to hear this thing about resiliency. The people of the Virgin Islands are a resilient people. That shit is corruption. All they're saying is that the people of the Virgin Islands are fools who let the corrupt abuse them. I prefer a better word. The people of the Virgin Islands are a people of ethics, integrity, culture. The people of the Virgin Islands are a people who stand for something. And with that I say, good night, my people of the Virgin Islands, the world. stand up for something because you are the only ones who could do it.